With their calls to abolish the Electoral College, Democrats have proven they have no idea what the American outside the major metropolitan city wants or who they even are. You see, they're too busy catering their campaigns to their elitist bubbles that they forget so much about the rest of the country that it's more than New York City, Washington, D.C., and San Francisco. Well, Chad Prather, host of Humor Me and the Chad Prather Show podcast on Blades TV, joins me now from somewhere in real America to talk about the ignorance of the left and who it hurts most. Chad, where are you? And wherever it is, that's where I want to be right now.
You should be here. Look at this, Andrew. You're my hero, buddy. Hey. Last time we did this, we were in Washington, D.C. together. But here I am in Burleson, Texas, at the Spice Rack having a drink.
That's just not fair. Okay, we've gone over the Democrats want to get rid of the Electoral College, and they essentially want to create an electoral constellation that would be a line from D.C. to Philadelphia, New York, Boston, over to Chicago, Seattle, Portland, and then down to San Francisco and Los Angeles. Basically a handful of major metropolitan cities, deep blue Democrat cities, would control the whole country. And they actually think the country would be better off because people in the place that you're at right now, they don't know what's good for them.
Well, I'm sitting here in the middle of Texas, and as the old saying goes, so goes Texas, so goes the rest of the country. And I know that there's folks, and unfortunately, we're dealing with a lot of situations where folks are coming from California, coming over to Texas, and they're voting the same way that they did when they were in California to make California the travesty that it is. Let's talk about California for a minute. There's been a lot of talk out there about people saying, why don't we break California up into 5 states? Even that is a Democratic liberal tactic, because if they do that, it's going to give them even more senators that are going to still be blue based on the way they want to divide the thing up. So the thing is a very sinister plot here. When you start talking about undermining the Constitution and getting rid of the Electoral College and giving away everything based on a popular vote, you start talking about combining the Dakotas, and things like that. It gets very dangerous here. We're on very slippery ground here in the fact that there are folks out there that are taking this as a logical step and as a reasonable step is absolutely asinine and incredible to me that we've gone that far down in a downward spiral.
But you know what this would essentially create would be like a Hunger Games-tocracy, right? The rest of the country would be under the boot of the people who reside in a handful of major metropolitan cities. And the truth is, as smart as they think they are, full of great ideas how to run education or transportation or healthcare, the truth is that most Americans who don't live in these cities don't want to be ruled by these people that don't live where they are and they've never met them before.
Look, all you have to do is look at a place like San Jose, California, in that district where Eric Swalwell was voted in as a congressman. Eric Swalwell, for a lack of better terms and to say it in a nice, sweet Christian way, is a moron. And here's a guy who's polling at 0% and trying to run for president of the United States. Then you have districts that are run by Nancy Pelosi, folks like Maxine Waters. We all know the nightmare that San Francisco is right now. Gavin Newsom is a nightmare. The state of California exists to take your money. Now they're going to spend $98 billion taxpayer money in order to pay for the welfare and health care of 18 to 25-year-old illegal aliens while their streets are covered with homelessness. It's absolutely ridiculous that you're going to turn this tide of power over to folks whose logic thinks like that. We've lost all sense of common sense. It's become literally, Andrew, a demonic cult of power. And it doesn't matter what they're going to do to get it. They absolutely fundamentally want to create the demise of what we know as the United States of America.
You know, no matter how smart you are, and I think one of the true indicators of a real intellectual is knowing the limits of their intellect. And if you look at the framers, these were deeply religious and very smart individuals. And you know what they said to themselves? You know what would be really bad? Centralized authority. They put into place the 10th Amendment. They created what we call states' rights, having nothing to do with slavery. They said, here are the things the federal government's going to do. It might be far away from you. Here are the things the federal government's going to do. We're going to make sure that each state has a say in picking the president. And then when we get to the 10th Amendment, you guys are kind of on your own to run the basics of day-to-day life. And we've ever more traded that to the federal government. States are ever more becoming clients of the federal government, most specifically education. Lots of people around the country feel like the public education, or should I say government education system, does not accurately reflect their values, and their hands are tied. Think of the transgender bathroom fight, that even though we talk about local control, really we've traded it for federal authority.
So, the founding fathers were genius, and in the founding and the writing of the Constitution, which I believe the Constitution is second only in terms of its greatness to the Bible itself. Look, our founding fathers believed that they were making sure that we could always avoid another monarchy, and you can add into a monarchy a dictatorship. And so now what we're seeing is not a dictatorship where one man rises to the top. We're seeing a mob rule. We're seeing this idea that if we can put together this popular group of opinions and votes that are out there, they're going to rule by default. And they're trying to do everything they can to do that. This is, in essence, exactly what our founding fathers were trying to avoid. See, we've been sitting here trying to think of, okay, who is that one person that could rise to the top? And look, you take Bernie Sanders and his push for socialism. Like, I don't believe that Bernie Sanders is going to go out and start Gestapo-style shooting people in the back of the head if he institutes socialism. But I do believe that it's not the burn I fear, it's the afterburn, if you will. It's the person that rises to the top after someone like a Bernie Sanders institutes a democratic socialism, and people accept that as the norm, as the status quo. And then when you do that, you have this group of people that rises to the top, and they in and of themselves become exactly what our founding fathers wanted to avoid. They become a monarchy/dictatorship.
A lot of these people in these major cities, people like Bill de Blasio, Eric Garcetti in Los Angeles, like you said, Gavin Newsom, former mayor of San Francisco, now governor of California, they get it wrong every time, right? We see the homelessness situation, the income inequality, the lack of opportunity in these major metropolitan cities, and yet they want their influence to be felt in every corner of the country. But they look at people that are in the background of where you are right now, and they think those people are ignorant and don't know what's good for them. Let's turn this around and talk about the people where you are. This is the ultimate insult. The people who can't get it right where they are think the people that where you are aren't smart enough to run their own lives, and what they really need is the big fist of government.
So there was a interview recently with our favorite Hollywood celebrity, Alec Baldwin, who said that outside of LA and New York, we consider everyone else a flyover American. And then the person who was moderating the interview and asking the questions actually gave him an out, and he doubled down on that. And so when you say that, we look at Hollywood, we look at New York, we look at California, LA, Sacramento, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, all of these places as being another planet. They're out there. And what I encourage people to do is don't think that it can't encroach and find you here, because, listen, it's like a cancer. I was walking through a farmer's market several years ago, and I saw a sign near some apples, and the sign said, "Today's spot becomes tomorrow's rot." And it's like a cancer cell. If we don't deal with this now and take our heads out of the sand and address it, use every opportunity we have, platform, social media, use our voices and fight back against everything from censorship to this encroachment of these bad ideas that have been proven throughout history, that they lead ultimately to death, we're going to have a hard time. And stop looking. So the folks around me, the folks in Texas, the attitude is, hey, we're going to walk tall. We're going to have a humble arrogance. We're going to arm ourselves to the teeth, and nobody can mess with Texas. But I'm telling you, we've seen, I'm just south of Tarrant County, which is Fort Worth. Fort Worth, Tarrant County, for the first time in its history, voted blue in the last election when Beto O'Rourke was running against Senator Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz literally won by a very narrow margin, as we all know. But Beto O'Rourke, Bob Frank, Robert Francis O'Rourke won in Tarrant County. Fort Worth, Cowtown, he won. That's a scary thought.
I got to leave it there. Whatever you're having, order me one, even though I'm here in Washington, D.C. Chad, thanks so much for joining us.
You got it, Andrew. You're my hero.
Oh, come on.